Welcome to the Two Pages Project, part of the Coil Entertainment Network. I'm your host, Rob Steele. If you're interested in getting your story published on the show, stay tuned. After this story, we'll have a lot more details. And in this week's story, we have an investigation into the murder of a veteran police officer in her own home. This story isn't ripped from the headlines, but it wouldn't surprise you to find it there. Lieutenant Cooper Wright investigates in a story called No Guts, No Glory. I'd rather not count the number of levels this is wrong on. I'll admit, I didn't know her very well, but no one, especially a cop, should go like this. Sergeant Martina Steindahl worked out of the 37th Precinct. She'd been on the force for almost 15 years. I'd met her a few times, but we weren't close or anything. And now, on today, of all days, we started out with a funeral for two young officers, Martin Adams and Phil Olson, who were killed in that drug bust last week. They had a combined 3 years on the force. The service was nice, but someone noticed Steindahl wasn't there. A unit was sent to her house out here in the suburbs, and they found her like this. It appears as though she was ambushed while getting ready for the funeral. She's wearing a dress uniform, but her medals are missing. Ripped off the uniform. Most of her midriff is missing too. Not quite completely disemboweled, but close enough. Not a great way to go. The blood trail leads from her front door to the bedroom. Looks like she was trying to get to a cell phone in the bedroom, but didn't. There are footprints, both hers and what we assume is the assailant. At least I can't think of anyone else who would walk through her blood and just leave without calling 911. Dr. Song Ho Young has collected her body and moved her to the front of the line at autopsy. CSIs are swarming the scene and taking pictures and collecting everything. This just became our top priority case. Who would want to do this to a cop? I know there are a lot of tension these days, but the shoe prints are generic looking to me, but that's why we have CSIs. Why take her medals, too? It's not like a unit citation or a purple shield would get a lot of money on the black market. It seems a bit personal, which means I have to look into her life. It's never really a good thing to look at another cop that way, but it gives me an idea. Not one I like, but it's an idea. Back at the station, I meet with John Ramsey of Internal Affairs. On the off chance Sergeant Steindahl was being looked into or if she was part of some IA case, he tells me nothing recent. There was an incident about 3 years ago with another officer, Brian Gull. Gull had been skimming money from his arrests and Steindahl caught him. Turned out to be the tip of the iceberg and that Gull had been taking a lot more than the odd $20 bill. There was money, sure, but also drugs, guns, and even the occasional car. Ramsey couldn't remember the length of the prison term Gull got, but he did know he was still in prison. It's not like cops, even dirty ones, to put out a hit on someone. And if they did, it probably would have been much sooner than today. I keep Gull in mind, but put him on the back burner. When I enter the homicide department, just about everyone's already there. Looks like the chief called everyone in just to get this cleared up quick. No, night shift isn't here, but I did see Calvin Glenn, Jay Ward, and Gabrielle Rosenberger at the funeral. But someone has to work night shift. Detective Manny Vasquez is present, though, and brings me a report. We've all been looking into Sergeant Steindahl, boss, and we can't find anyone who'd have it out for her. Most of her arrests were straight up by the book. Even the oddball cases didn't have anything out of the ordinary. That would, cause someone to do this to her. Should, I correct. Manny looks thoughtful for a moment before nodding in agreement. Have we looked at her financials, and does she have a... I pause, looking for the politically correct term. Significant other? That does bother me a bit. I have nothing against homosexuality, and I understand that future generations will be brought up thinking gender neutrally. But I still automatically go for the boyfriend if our Vic is a woman. If that offends anyone, they should have to get over it. Not that we can tell, boss. Walker was looking at her social media, but he hasn't found anything recent. That would be Officer Scott Walker, who I hear is taking his sergeant's exam soon. He's good with tech. If there's anything on his social media, I'm confident he'll find it. As for her financials, nothing out of the ordinary. She doesn't have any bills that are too outstanding. A bit much on her credit cards, but who doesn't? Hasn't borrowed on her retirement or anything. Her mortgage is almost paid off. I'm sorry, boss, but I don't think there's anything here to find. I'd gotten the report and there were no eyewitnesses at her house. That's not terribly surprising. How many people are outside on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. looking at the neighbor's house? In this case, none. We can't be at a dead end yet. Let's review here. About 9, Sergeant Steindahl clocks out to go change for the funeral. It takes about 15 minutes to get to her house, and 15 minutes to get to the cemetery, leaving her 15 to get ready. So, between 9:30 and 9:45, she's getting ready, and it looks like she answered a door and got stabbed by whoever rang the bell or knocked. Her gun and cell phone were found on the bed, so she wasn't completely ready. That means we can put her time of death around 9:35 to 9:40. Who would have known she'd be there then, though, is the question. Certainly the officers at the 37th, but I'm pretty sure they're all accounted for. None of her cases, open or shut, seem to have a suspect. That leaves almost anyone who knew there was a police funeral and that she was a cop. Well, that didn't narrow it down at all. That's when I hear an expletive from Officer Walker. You're not going to get your sergeant's badge yelling that across the department. He ignores the quip and waves me over to his desk and points at the screen on the computer. This just went online, which of course attracts the attention of several nearby desks. Someone posted an authentic purple shield medal from a real cop on eBay. I have to admit, I'm a bit surprised. I guess it showed, as he says, on a hunch I set up an alert for this stuff. Somebody isn't too bright to try to get rid of it so soon after getting it. Hey Manny, could you run a Marty 327 on eBay and get a real name? It takes Manny all of 3 minutes to come up with the name Martin Sylvester and an address, about 3 houses down from Sergeant Steindahl. I send 3 units and the tactical squad to bring this guy in. I put Walker in charge and give him credit for the bust, seeing as it was his idea that led to him, but I handle the interrogation. The guy who's brought in is not what I would have expected. Martin Sylvester is, according to his driver's license, 17 years old. He's not very tall, about 5'7", and almost skin and bones. His complexion is, well, let's just call him overly pale. The shock of blonde hair on his head isn't helping. If anything, it's reflecting off his skin. Walker leads him in, still cuffed, and attaches those cuffs to the table in interrogation room 1. As he leaves, Walker whispers something about Sylvester's mom not being too happy about this. What, he lives at home? Walker looks uncomfortable and nods on his way out. This is not going to go well. I put the purple shield medal, still in the evidence bag, on the table. Martin, we need to know where you... All you f***ing cops are the same! I take a deep breath and rub the bridge of my nose. Invade our houses? Restrain our rights? How dare you pigs even think that I... Look, kid, I don't care in the slightest about what you think right now. We invaded your house because you were trying to sell something taken from a murder victim that lives 3 houses down from you. She was a cop, too, and we take it very personally when one of our own is killed. So I'm going to ask you this again. Where did you get this medal? Off that dead bitch cop. She ruined my life and no one gives a shit about it. 2 things, kid. 1, that language doesn't do anything for me and just digs a hole for you. 2nd, I'm using all my patience right now, so keep this short. How did she ruin your life? I'm not sure if the kid looked like he was going to yell again or cry. 3 weeks ago, she caught me smoking in my backyard. I wasn't hurting anyone, but she took my stash and told my parents what she saw me doing. They took me to a rehab center for 2 weeks. And they told my school what happened, and they canceled my scholarship and classes. They said they were going to be making an example out of me. I won't be able to get into any other school now, so I won't be able to... Hang on a minute, kid. If you're in a university, then you should know that smoking pot is illegal. She was just doing her job. It was a Marlboro! He exploded, trying to stand up, but getting caught on the handcuffs that were still attached to the table and muttering yet another expletive. All this over a cigarette? I leave the kid locked up in the room with Walker keeping an eye on him. I need to think this through. Something about this, it doesn't seem right. I ask Manny to look this particular incident up, and he draws a blank. There was no report. We check with the rehab center and the kids' university, and the story checks out. Unfortunately, Manny also reports that officers who were searching the kid's house found the knife, bloody shoes, and Sergeant Steindahl's other ribbons. Kid did it. Part of me is glad that we found Sergeant Steindahl's killer, but there's this other part of me that can't help but thinking all this could have been avoided with a warning, or maybe even just a talk. Steindahl's vigilance was commendable, I suppose. 17 is technically too young to legally smoke, but if she knew the kid's story, or bothered to find out, she'd still be with us, and Martin Sylvester's life wouldn't be ruined. It's not a literal case of shooting first and asking questions later, but the questions are important. Too many cops are shooting first and not caring afterwards. We need to find a way to make that stop before everyone gets hurt. If you'd like to get your story on the show, just send it to us. Check out the website, 2pagesproject.com. That's the number 2. Pages Project uses letters. And there you'll find all the rules and all the information on how we'll take your short story and publish it first as an ebook on the website, then turn it into an audiobook on the podcast. And when we've got enough stories, we'll turn it all into an actual book that you can buy at a store. So if you'd like to submit your story, check out the website and then email it to contact@twopagesproject.com. We'll be open to any type of story you want to send us, not just mystery or horror, but sci-fi or historical or western or melodrama or romance if you feel the urge. Whatever you want to send us, just submit your story for the audiobook treatment and publishing on our website. Don't forget to pass the show around too, because that always helps, and subscribe to the show and all of the Coil Entertainment Network shows through iTunes or Pinterest or YouTube or the Google Play Store or anywhere you happen to find podcasts. While you're at it, check out the Coil Entertainment Network store. There's a link on the website. We've got t-shirts and hats that all go to support the network, so check that out. And if you're interested in your show's cover art becoming a shirt or a hat, let me know. I can arrange that. Also, if you're interested in being part of the audiobook process, use that same email address, contact@twopagesproject.com. So, until next time, be safe and keep writing.